think the pandemic taught us all the value of a ring light. It used to just be like makeup tutorials on YouTube had ring lights, and now every band guy I know has one of those in their closet. Oh, you got to, man. You got to have one.
BJ?
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Thanks for coming on the podcast, and welcome to Memphis.
Thanks for coming to the beautiful green room here at. Hey, Rhett, I'm going to use the green room for a podcast. Sorry. It's good to be here. It's good to be here for to hang out.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a 8 o'clock tip, I think, and time moved a little bit to. You got some buddies playing down the street?
Yeah, there's this local band named Lucero playing down the street. Some buddies of ours. We realized that we double booked the night, and so we kind of put our heads together and realized that we could still play an early show. They could play the late show. People come in. It's a Saturday. You can't really get away with this on a Thursday, but on a Saturday you can get away with a matinee show and then go. I think everybody's heading over to Minglewood Hall afterwards, and we're gonna see Lucero burn that place to the ground.
Man, it's cool. Like talking to people on the podcast and everything, you realize how much of a community it is in general. But it's cool to, I guess, see all of that in actually work like that, where you guys, come together to make something like that happen. Because every time I've seen you here in town, there's been Lucero guys in the crowd. John C. will be back there, or somebody. It's always there.
I think it's important. Like you realize that once you do this long enough, that circle starts getting real small, and you start realizing that everybody in the scene, in the circle. And so it's as simple as making a phone call and saying, you want to play late or early, and then playing the other one.
Who realized that first?
I think we realized very quickly. I think we announced the date, and then a couple weeks later, they announced that they were doing. And I looked at the dates. I was like, no, this can't be the same night. And so then we very quickly. I think somebody on Facebook made a comment. It's like, you guys are going to split that audience in half. And then I was like, well, what if we did the early show? And then luckily Growlers here was like, it's a Saturday. We don't care what time you play.
Yeah, thanks to Growlers for giving us the green room that's black and
This is a peek behind the curtain. Everybody thinks the green room is like this luxurious place, and it is usually just kind of a hole off to the side of the stage that we put drinks and snacks in. So welcome to behind the curtain.
So we talked about Lucero already. How did that connection make? I'm sure you've known them forever.
One of the very, very first shows this band ever played was probably in 05, 06, opening for Lucero in Raleigh when they came through. It was one of our very first shows. Promoter put us on shows at the brewery, and this is back when Lucero was just a 4-piece.
Okay.
It was just John, Ben, Brian, and Roy. And we were we were terrible. We were so bad. But we could drink, and we bonded over the fact that we could all hang out together. And then we started coming through Little Rock, and Ben was a big patron at the Whitewater Tavern. And then we used to come through Memphis and play a little place called the Buccaneer Lounge in Memphis, Tennessee. And that was kind of where a lot of those Lucero boys used to hang out in the golden days, and just became fast friends. We liked a lot of the same music, a lot of the same bands, and traveled in some of the same circles. And so, God, at this point, I've known those guys for almost 20 years.
Is that, have you found that fans you made on those runs have been some of the base that you're still?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Like, there's any town that we've played with Lucero in, we have people coming up saying, I remember seeing you with Lucero here in like 08, 09. And it's been nice because, we played with those guys. They came to Raleigh 2 years ago and played our big hometown festival. And we've been to Memphis twice and done their big, family cookout. We did the one at the movie theater right after the pandemic, and then we did one, I think 2 years ago here in Memphis, the block party, yeah. So at least once a year we usually cross paths with those guys and get to hang out and catch up, and it's always a blast.
It's crazy how, we talked to several bands like that as far as kind of their early runs with certain bands
Yeah.
shape their fan base. Like we talked, like as far as like Steelwoods, they went out with Blackberry Smoke early on. So
Yeah.
a lot of that the very base of it come from those first runs and happened to be the band they were paired with.
For sure. Like I look at the bands that have taken us on the road, Jason Isbell, the Drive-By Truckers, Turnpike Troubadours, Justin Towns Earl. That's the 4 people that have ever taken us on the road for shows. And every one of those, we have this fan base. Like a lot of that fan base is crossover. Because they're like, oh, I saw you with the Truckers here. I saw you with Jason here. And all you need is that 45-minute set to win somebody over. Because if they already like that kind of music, they already like songwriters, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I understand. It's not like you're in a cover band world trying to squeeze in a couple songs. You're out with independent. You're out with people doing original music. Anyway,
Yeah.
So
and the thing is, getting up there and
there for the picking.
just don't fuck it up. Get up. You got 45 minutes in front of this crowd that is they want to like you. Just don't fuck it up. Give them your 7 best songs. Play them good. Have energy, and you're gonna make an impression.
Honestly, like you said, those bands that took you out. I mean, the pairing is pretty good.
Yeah.
As far as like the styles aren't dramatically different between you and the Truckers and stuff like that.
Exactly. Even if we're not the same exact thing, we're adjacent, and we're kind of rock and country stuff.
Southern.
Yeah.
Kind of yeah.
We love it, and like I said, all those folks are friends, and we're lucky to have friends that are wildly talented. They put us in front of their audiences.
And now you're doing the same for.
Yeah, that's what you have. You have to pass that, pay it forward. All the bands that took a chance on us early on. I wish more bands took a chance on us early on. So much of our career was built on, if nobody's going to take us on the road, then we're just going to hit it by ourselves, and we're going to go play these, dive bars every single night until somebody pays attention to us. And I didn't want to be that band. I wanted to be the band that once we got to the point we could take somebody out, I wanted to take people out that I think the last 4 years I've been able to handpick all the openers.
Okay.
And it's been game changing.
How do you find
It's what I'm listening to. It's Spotify, the release radar, once a week.
So you really do kind of.
I listen.
Are you actively searching, or are you just
100%.
listening as a fan?
I'm a music fan, and I
Okay.
always want to find songs that move me. I always want to find songs that make me feel something, and that's not just the old standards. I want to find new music. I want to find that 20-year-old kid that's writing songs like his life depends on it, and I want to find them early enough to where I can take them out and put them in front of people where they can hear it. I've been lucky. I've had some of the bands that went out and opened for us over the years have, went on to be massive bands. Like back in the, 2011, 2012, there was this kid in West Virginia, Kentucky state line named Tyler Childers that was opening for us, and he's doing okay.
Yeah.
There was a songwriter nobody had ever heard of in 2017. I took him out on an acoustic tour. I did a Great 48 tour, and a guy named Charlie Crockett.
Yeah.
He opened up for me that whole summer. Young lady from Virginia named Morgan Wade.
You could probably tell with these guys.
100%.
Especially whenever you got them in person.
The minute you see them on stage and you see what they do and how just good they are. Because all those 3 that I just named and a multitude of the other ones we've been able to take out, the minute you see it, you get it. It's just about getting people to see it or hear it. Because once you see it or hear it, it's great. And I love that a lot of the bands that we've taken out have just gotten huge, because it lets me know that I'm on to something. I got a pretty good ear
decent taste there
for songs. Because again, I'm a musician by trade, but at the end of the day, I'm also a music fan. I love music, not just my own. Not just the stuff that I write or the stuff that I listen to. I just love music in general. So I'm constantly trying to find stuff that pushes me and moves me.
Right.
And usually if it moves me enough to take somebody out on the road, I can almost guarantee it's going to move people that like our music or people that listen to our music.
Makes sense.
And for the most part, I'd say I got a pretty good success rate. There's a couple that, our fans maybe didn't get or fans maybe didn't understand that I still love. But for the most part, I'd say most of these artists, they leave that tour with us not only having a bunch more fans, but they also get to see how an independent do-it-yourself band tours. You know, we don't have a label. We don't have like the big machine behind us. We don't have radio singles.
Right.
I'm not getting on TikTok every day and lip syncing in the middle of the woods to one of my songs. Like, it's not what I do.
Yeah, I hope I don't see you doing that.
I promise I never will. There's a few things I won't ever do, and that's stand in the middle of the woods and lip sync over a recorded song. There's enough of that shit. If you need it, just log into TikTok or Instagram. What we do is we come to your town once a year, we plug in our amps, and we play songs for you. We're pretty fucking good at it.
That's the tried and true.
Yeah. Turns out, if you can just do that, because a lot of those TikTok kids, they can't play shows. I've watched them. They're not good live because they just never done it. They're so used to dancing in front of a camera dressed up like a cowboy, they can't do that shit when you put them in front of 1,000 people. I wish more kids, I wish before you could even have a TikTok account, you had to go on like a 2-month tour and just have shit thrown at you and have pizza restaurants talk over all your songs.
It would be great to be able to have both of those, to get the followers, but also be able to learn, you know, on the road and stuff.
And you see it happening. You see kids, you know, like this year.
I mean, I'm sure there's rare ones that can do both. You know what I mean?
Like Zach Top's the one that comes to mind.
Right.
Like he just sits there with an acoustic guitar and just rips.
Yeah.
Like that's his TikTok, is him just being like, "Hey, you want to hear this really great song? Watch me play it perfectly." And then you go see him live and you're like, "Holy shit, that kid can do it."
Still play it perfectly.
But it turns out he's been doing that shit for 10 years.
People just didn't know.
People just didn't know about it. That's the secret. Those are the overnight successes I like. The 10 years in the making overnight successes that like
Chris Staples.
Yeah, those kids have been grinded for years. And then finally when they have their chance, they're ready for it. They're ready for that moment. There's plenty of kids who they get, you know, 1 million followers on TikTok and then they get signed to a record label and then they get put out on the road and then they have a mental breakdown because they're not made for it. They've never done it before.
They've never managed a band.
They're worried so much about getting content up every 4 hours that they forgot how to learn how to just do the shit in front of large groups of people.
I understand if you could do, you know, for the folks that will do both, it's
yeah,
huge. You know, go play the dive bars, play the shitty covers, try force your originals, and play on TikTok.
Yeah, if you like, yeah. I want to see you play on TikTok and Instagram. I don't want to see you lip syncing. Like that shit drives me nuts. Drives me absolutely bonkers.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. There's people that I respect and respect their music, but they do that, and I just can't understand. I don't understand why. But somebody I want to make sure I bring up that I've actually had him on the podcast, and man, what a damn story he has. But J.D. Graham.
J.D. Graham's great.
You shared one of his songs. I don't know, I guess when he released his album or something like that. You know, it's like, well, kind of like what you said, you know, you ran across his music, so you shared it, hey, check this dude out, right? And you don't really have any ties with him or anything. You just like what you heard.
I've met him a few times, like at festivals and stuff. Never toured with him, never really got to hang out with him too much other than like, hey, really a big fan of your work. Do
you know anything about his?
I know his story.
Yeah, that's.
And it's a great story. But yeah, I think it's important.
Go check out that podcast, by the way, if you haven't seen the one with J.D. Graham, because like you shared, was it Percocets and Pawn Shops? You shared the song, and I was like, well, okay, well, I'm going to go listen. And then because that's a deep song to start with, and then you start listening to a story and all the stuff he's been through, man, it's ridiculous.
It starts making sense once you hear the story and then you start hearing the songs. It starts making a lot more sense for you. I try my best to use my platform for that. Like if I hear a song that moves me, I immediately just hit share to the story. Because 9 times out of 10, if it's moving me to the point of like taking time out of my day to share it with people, the people that like the music that I like are gonna like that song. 9 times out of 10.
Understood.
And so people always ask me what I'm listening to. I was like, just follow along on the Instagram story. I was like, I'm constantly posting anything new I find that's like moves me, or like a friend puts out a new record, I immediately post about it.
It happened, that's for sure. What about as far as we talked about, you moving the show forward some. Do you have kind of a routine in your day of gigs, or how is today messing it? messing it up? Or
well, I sent you like every day. My day's planned out. I get a schedule every morning. It's right over there on the fridge. But I get it's called a day sheet, and it just tells me what time the doors open for the club, what time we load in, what time we sound check, what time VIP starts, doors open, opener, what time I got to be on stage. So there's only a few little holes. Like, people think this is such a glamorous gig. Like, you get to see the 90 minutes of our life that's really cool. When we're on stage doing what we're here for, that's a lot of fun. The other 22 and a half hours is just waiting. So like, the doors open, you load your stuff in, you wait. You get up on the stage, you set it up, you wait. Then you sound check, then you wait. Doors open up, still wait. Opener goes on, still wait. And then it's your time to get up on stage, and you get 90 minutes to just get that whole day's worth of waiting out. And then as soon as you hit that last chord, you gotta wait till the next day to do it all over again. We've gotten to a point where it's a lot easier. Like, the getting from town to town has gotten a lot easier. We've got the bus, we got a driver, we've got a team, we got a tour manager, production manager, an assistant tour manager, a photographer. We got a whole crew that travels with us, makes our life real easy. We always tell people it's embarrassingly comfortable touring these days. But
I'm pretty sure the first couple times I saw you, you were still in a van with the trailer.
Van and trailer.
Yeah.
We've been on the bus since 2017, which we're fortunate to, be able to travel easy these days. But that was also 11 years of paying a trailer, waking up, driving 10 hours every day to get to the club, to sound check, to play the show, sleep for 3 or 4 hours, and then do it all over again.
Yeah, the early days tour schedule and all of that was that's pretty well documented on all of the different podcasts you've been on.
We weren't scared of the work, man. There's a lot of bands out there that are scared of the work, but that was one thing we really embraced. We built our entire brand off of we'll play more shows than anybody else in the country. I always tell people, I can't control how I look. I ain't the prettiest motherfucker in the room. I ain't got the best voice. I don't write the best songs. I'm not a really great guitar player. The one thing I got that nobody else has is I will outwork anybody in front of me.
Well, it's definitely something that comes up talking to people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like the reputation has, it's people notice.
It's fun because I don't have to tell people anymore. It used to be I had to tell people, like, look at how much we're having, look at how much we're working. Like, why aren't we getting booked for these festivals? Why aren't we getting booked? Now I don't have to tell people as much. Like, the story kind of.
How does that feel? Like, after all these years and all the miles and all the gigs and all the band members and all this other stuff to have. Now you've got, no matter what the age, you've got artists coming up to you talking about the workload and what they've learned from you on whether it be the merch cuts and everything that you're really open about most everything as far as the business is concerned.
I'm very transparent about the business,
and I think a lot of artists love that.
They do, and I talk to almost all the young artists, and there's some pretty big ones now that I've talked through the business. Like, when they first get started, they call me. Somebody in their camps, like, call BJ Barham. Have him tell you the one. It's like starting a band 101. It's like, I'm gonna tell you the hard way. There's no shortcuts. Don't take the shortcuts, because every time you take a shortcut, you have to give up a piece of yourself. You have to give up a piece of the art. If you're willing to do the work and you're willing to do it all by yourself, 10 to 20 years into it, you can build something really special. But most 20-year-old kids don't want to put that 10 years in.
Right.
They don't realize that, like, that 10 years is going to make them the artist they need to be. It's going to teach them what no means. It's going to teach them what failure looks like. It's going to teach them what, okay, I'm playing songs I really believe in, but nobody gives a shit. Write better songs. I'm playing songs and everybody keeps talking over them. Write songs that people refuse to talk over.
Turn up.
Or just take a 6-piece rock and roll band out until you learn how to write those songs. Get louder than them.
Yeah.
It's like, I used to be the kid, I'd sit there and I'd bitch about this song means so much to me, and people talk through it. And I remember one person, I don't think they were trying to be mean. They were, maybe if you heard a song people didn't feel like talking through, they'd shut the fuck up. I don't think they were being mean either. I think it was just like, almost like when you see John Prine walk out somewhere, or you see Guy Clark walk out somewhere and play these songs, it was almost like there was this presence that they were like, oh fuck, I'm not saying a word. Like, what he's about to say is going to be, I got to listen to it. And it's about getting to the point where your songs are good enough to where when people see you, they know to shut the fuck up. They know if it's just that guy on acoustic guitar, he's getting ready to hurt my feelings.
Well, also, you're building, you're like doing everything the hard way as far as putting the time in. You're building your fan base. You're building your foundation.
Yeah.
Right? So if things, that record deal falls through or whatever, and you go back out on the road, you've got your foundation. They're still there. They're not going anywhere. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's funny because a lot of kids, and I've talked to a lot of kids, and I've told them, I was like, whatever you do not sign a big record deal. Please don't sign a record deal, especially if you've got traction. If you've got traction without the record deal, keep that traction and benefit from it. Not just financially, but like the rest of your business can be built on like owning it all. Ownership is we're a small business. Every band is a small business.
I don't think a lot of people look at that, and that's something that stood out to me tremendously talking to people is supporting artists like you and everybody is the same as going to buy your jeans on a town square at a small town shop.
Of course.
It's the music version of shopping local.
We're the mom and pop hardware store. You can go to Home Depot and get it cheaper. You can go to Home Depot and get it faster.
Yeah.
But like if you're willing to put in the work and look for us and search for us, we're the mom and pop place. Because the fun thing is, if you got a problem with anything of mine, you can come right back to the guy that made it. Talk to him. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you how I made it. I'll tell you what I think's wrong with it, and I'll fix it if it's wrong. You can't do that with these. Like when you order a T-shirt from me, you're not ordering it from a fulfillment company. You're not ordering it from a record label. You order it from me. I pack it up in my office and I mail it to you. I put a note in every order. It says thank you for listening. Sign it. And I don't do that. I do that to remind people there's a human being behind this. There's a human being that not only writes the songs that you're listening to, that you're buying, that you're supporting. There's a guy sitting here in his office on a Tuesday morning packing up orders, sending them to you because I give a shit. I'm appreciative that somebody out there is willing to buy a T-shirt of mine for $30.
Yep.
You can go to Target and buy a $5, $10 T-shirt, whatever. You're spending $30 on my T-shirt, which ain't any more special than anybody else's T-shirt. But people buy a T-shirt from me because they know that money's going to put gas in that bus. It's going to put food in those boys' bellies. It's going to pay their rent.
There's a story that we saw you at Lafayette's and Gabe Lee opened.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was his first run as a touring musician, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was right after the pandemic.
I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that was his first time, heading out besides playing around Nashville. And I didn't know him, but I liked what he did. He seemed nice and whatever, so I went and bought a vinyl. Well, his wife, he was talking to people, and his wife went and got it. She's like, hey, he just bought a vinyl, right? So he's like, oh man, you want me to sign it? I'm like, well, I'd love for you to sign it, right? But he shook my hand and he said, you just paid for our gas to Little Rock. Like, I never thought about that, as a fan.
Yeah.
But I could tell he didn't.
Of course.
And then on Instagram, they're showing him sleeping, they're sleeping in, at a park. Which is just, it was just two people, but still. It's something that most of us don't think about.
People, and that's why I started being vocal about it. That's why I started telling people, like, buying directly from the artist is so important. Yes, you can pay $13 a month and stream every song in recorded history for $13 a month. Or you can go support the artist that you really, truly believe in. Mm-hmm. And you're not just buying a record, you're supporting them.
Right.
Like, it's because when you buy a record from an independent artist, that entire $30 is going straight into their pocket.
Right.
When you buy it from Amazon, we're getting a couple bucks a pop. When you buy it from anywhere but straight from the artist.
Understood.
You know what I mean? And so, like, but your massive artists don't give a shit. Like, they don't need.
They don't see it.
Yeah, they don't see the $30 at a time. Independent artists see the $30 at a time. We see each individual transaction come through.
And there's a ton of them as far as what he's talking about. We've had the same conversation with Adam Hood and a bunch of guys, you know what I mean?
And I've talked to Adam, I've talked to Gabe, all of those guys have called me and been like, how do I build this thing from the ground up? What do I do? And I give them my advice. Some of them listen to it, some of them take certain things and apply it to their business, and that's what it's all about. You know, I had to learn all these lessons like the hard way. I had to learn them because there wasn't somebody out there talking about, because everybody, like Instagram is like the greatest hits. Nobody wants to talk about how hard it is. Everybody just wants to show the good shows, the good breaks, the good opportunities, the festival place. Nobody wants to talk about sleeping in your fucking car because you didn't sell enough merch last night to buy a hotel room.
Right.
Nobody wants to talk about that. I think that's the important stuff to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
When you pull that veil back.
That was the whole point of this podcast. To a point was to point out the goods and bads of the independent world.
It's about breaking down the mystique of rock and roll. Like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
It's work. It's hard work. And I learned very quickly that as long as I was willing to tell people, like if something got too hard or too much or too overwhelming, we learned that we could just tell our fans, and our fans would get together and take care of it. Like, we're like, man, we really wish we could make a record in a real studio. And it's like, well, we can't afford that. So like, what if we ask our fans to buy the record up front, pre-order? I think
you've done.
We didn't invent the pre-order, but we were one of the first bands that really adopted that model as, this is how we do business now.
How many albums have you done like that so far?
Everything since Burn, Flicker, Die, so everything since 2012. 12 years of pre-order.
Okay.
So, you know, Burn, Flicker, Die, Wolves, live record, Rockingham, Things Change, Lamentations, Chicken Wacomico, The Fear of Standing Still, and both Slappers and Bangers. 10 records.
Okay.
We're done that way.
That's.
You know, it's asking your fans like, hey, these records don't get made unless you're willing to buy them up front.
How the hell did that feel the first time? I mean, I'm sure it's not any less flattering this last time. But the first time that happened, I'm sure that's got to be kind of emotional.
It is emotional. You feel seen as an artist. You feel like what you do does matter. Because when you're traveling on the road playing in front of 15 people every night, nobody's buying merch. Your family doesn't get what you do. You're not making any money. Everybody's going broke. Everybody's ruining their credit score. There's those moments where all you need is somebody to tell you, like, hey, your stuff matters to me. These songs matter. So when you have a group of people, hundreds of people, that are willing to give you $30 to $100, 12 months in advance, sight unseen, for you to go create something, it's validation. You finally feel like, holy shit, like, I've done enough in this business to where people trust me with, because that's a lot. For some people, $100, that's a lot of money just to trust blindly. To like, hey, go make a record. Like, I've never heard a song off of it. Here, go make a record. Mm-hmm. And the first record we did that for was Burn, Flicker, Die. So I feel really good. Like, I don't think
I didn't realize that was the first one.
That was the first one. And I don't think anybody who bought that record was unsatisfied with, it's one of our biggest records.
Right.
So like, I think we kind of set a precedent with like, we take it seriously. Mm-hmm. When you give us this money, we're gonna go in the studio and make the best possible piece of art we can.
And I'm sure most of people, that are hardcore, BJ American Aquarium fans, they know, but that's the Isbell produced album.
Yeah.
And so that's swinging heavy right out of the gate with, right? So
we set a bar pretty high.
And that was supposed to, if I remember this correct, with talking to Bill, that was kind of a make or break album for you guys.
We'd already given up before we even made that record. We were calling it quits. Isbell, luckily enough, Isbell's the one that kind of encouraged us to make that record. We went down to Muscle Shoals, made it with Jason. We had zero expectation. We thought we were going to put that record out, maybe play a few shows on it, and then we were done. Like, we'd been doing it for 7 years and nobody gave a shit about us. And the minute that record came out, it was like somebody flipped a light switch. I was like, okay, you get to play music for the rest of your life.
Why do you think that? No
idea. It's the same reason somebody.
Because Isbell wasn't that big.
Isbell was not Isbell yet.
Right. So
Isbell was not internationally celebrated folk icon.
Exactly.
Isbell was the drunk guy that got kicked out of the drive-by truckers.
Right.
Like, this is a year.
He was still Isabel, but nobody knew it.
This is a year before Southeastern comes out.
Okay.
When we made that record.
Mm-hmm.
We made that record in January of 12. Put it out in August of 12. February of 13, Southeastern comes out. So we're still both heavy drinking, heavy partying. Him and Amanda had just started dating when we made Burn, Flicker, Die. So the fiddle you hear on that, that's Amanda. All the female background vocals you hear on that, that's Amanda. And then Jason sang background vocals on every fucking song. The slide part on Homer Sparks, that is undeniably Jason Isbell playing slide guitar.
You, like, I guess, look back at that and just kind of...
Of course, now.
Yeah.
But in the time, it was just my buddy Jason.
Yeah, I understood.
And we were,
But you have to play those songs so much, I'm sure you know, in some way, shape, or form, you kind of sort of get, tired of playing them sometimes. But when you look back at that, you know what I mean? It's got to be, especially like if you're saying how much of a turning point it really was. I'm sure that's kind of easy to be romantic about that.
It's very easy to romanticize because of what Jason's achieved in his career. Jason has literally became like the voice of a generation. Like when you think about songwriters of the last 10 years, there's not many at his age.
Right.
Because he's only like 5 years older than me. But like he is like hero status at this point for a lot of songwriters.
Yeah.
And for me, he's a buddy. Like he's somebody when I see him, I give him a hug, ask him how he's doing. I text with him.
Yes.
And it's weird because now he's like, he's our John Prine, he's our Guy Clark, he's our songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that made it,
That's
but at the time, it's like it wasn't romanticized at the time. It was just our buddy Jason was making the record, and like we were making it like on a shoestring budget.
You knew he was good, but you didn't know.
He was at that point in his career. He was every songwriter's favorite songwriter, but the world didn't know about him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He was kind of like the John Moreland, like songwriters know what's up, musicians know what's up, but maybe commercial America doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But then Southeastern came out and everybody found out real fucking quick who Jason Isbell was.
And then started diving backwards into all the other stuff.
Yeah. And then you realize that's the best part about finding this is you find a Jason Isbell at Southeastern and then you realize like, holy shit, he's got like 4 other solo records and then he's got all the trucker stuff. Mm-hmm. Like you get to like find a new artist and then go buy 8 records and love more stuff of it. Because it wasn't like Southeastern was when Jason just got good. That's just when people started listening to it. Like you got to think the record before that had fucking Alabama Pines on it.
Right.
And the first time I heard that song, I was like, "Who? What?
I love the live album that he put out.
Oh yeah.
That's probably still one of my favorites that he's ever.
The live
done.
from Alabama. Yeah, I got that record.
Yeah, that's just all the way through. Even him doing into the Mystic and. That's not on that album.
That was when Broen was still playing. That was on the Live Twisted Shout record, a little EP. But yeah, that was when back in that first live record. I think Broen was still playing guitar with him. And man, I'm so when your friends get that shine, when your friends get the come up, it's awesome. It's easier to look back and romanticize it now because anytime I tell somebody like, yeah, we made this record, like who produced it, I'm like. Jason. I still, every interview I do, and this is not a knock to you, I'll do an interview with Rolling Stone, and at least one time during the interview, they're like, so, 14 years ago, you made a record with Jason Isbell. I'm like, yes, I made a record with Jason Isbell.
He's okay.
He's okay. He's very good. But yeah,
he can write songs.
I'm lucky that I have so many talented friends that have played on records and sang on records and produced records. Just a spoil of riches.
It's cool how you talk to different folks. Say you talk to Adam Hood, and he's glad that his buddy Brent Cobb is that things are clicking for him, and that's just one example, but that happens a lot.
Yeah.
But speaking of buddies, and we'll tie this back around to your new album, Shooter Jennings.
Yeah.
How did that?
He's okay.
Yeah, I've heard of him. That's a whole other different Shooter. If you want to come on the podcast sometime, I'd love to have you. Because he could easily ride the dad's name
Easy.
But he's his own.
He's
on his whole thing.
He could sit back and just mail it in, do the outlaw thing, do the dress up thing, wear the big aviators, and just be Waylon Jennings Jr. But he's not.
He's not
Shooter,
at all.
and
Yeah.
that's what I love about it.
And
It's
you
like
can tell people within the scene really respect him.
the realest of the real, man.
When you record you, Turnpike,
That dude, again, he could write his dad's name. Hell, two of his parents are two of the original 4 outlaws on the front of that fucking record. Like, get out of here. Like, he could just do that whole, like, he could do the outlaw bit the whole way, but he refuses to because he has so much more to offer the world. He's one of the realest human beings I've ever met. Just a vast wealth of musical knowledge. Just
which
he
is
knows.
crazy. Really,
It's talking to him is like talking to like a record store clerk, like a really nerdy record store clerk that knows like who played accordion on track 7 of this one country record from 1974. And Shooter will go, oh, that was so and so. He's like, he was friends with my dad. Like he came by the house every now and then. Like he's a really good accordion player. Like you're just like, huh?
like you said, he could either went one way or the other. He could really absorb all of that information from all those guys and respect it, which he does.
Or he could have been a shithead. Like
Right.
how many?
And he may have had years where he was a shithead, but who knows?
I never got to see.
We all have had those moments.
Ever since the day I met him, he's been nothing but gracious and kind and just.
And you're not the only one to say that.
No, there's a reason in this business that people come back and work with you. And it's like at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who get nominated for Grammys. There's a lot of people that win Grammys. The reason people come back and work with you is because you're a good human being. And Shooter brought out the best in this band. Shooter taught this version of the band, how to make records. He taught us how to vibe in a studio, how to get the best out of each other. And, you know, we've made 2 records with him now just to prove it wasn't a fluke. The Fear of Standing Still is proof that Lamentations wasn't a fluke. And so we'll go back in the studio next fall and make another record with him.
Right.
Like, I don't really see us making records with anybody else for the foreseeable future. Like
That's cool.
Shooter's the guy for us now.
So you'll be headed to LA every time.
Every 18 months we're going to LA and make a record. Rough life we live.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
Yeah, terrible.
So I guess what are some of the just behind the scenes? What are a couple of the things that would be a little bit different that Shooter does to get that out of you? I guess.
Some producers want complete control. They want final say in everything. They think that you're an idiot, and they think that like I've got this formula that works, and we're going to follow that formula. What we're good at, we're a band. We're a live band.
Okay.
We're a band. Put us in a room, put microphones on us, and just let us play the damn songs. Shooter was the first producer that realized that. Shooter was the first person that really leaned into the fact that, you know, I played over 4,000 shows in 18 years.
Play it live.
Like, let's just do it live. We're good at that. And there's a reason it works. Shooter, and don't get me wrong, Shooter still has these moments where he's like, I think this would work better. Can you try this? And that's the secret to Shooter is we try every idea. Whether or not it's a terrible idea or a good idea. It becomes very, very obvious which ones are the good ideas and which ones are the bad ideas.
Understood.
You know.
But it still gives you something that you may not have thought of.
Yep.
This and that. All right. Well, we'll try to get through this real quick. But you're pretty. We talked to tons and tons of people that are in the Texas music scene. By standard, you're not a Texas country style band. You got a little bit of a different.
Not a
different
Texas
thing going
bone
on.
in my body.
So, but you're accepted into that scene pretty heavy. Like we've interviewed like the Vandaliers and all different kinds of folks like that that still play in that Texas scene, but or lean a little left or right or center.
Yeah.
But how did you how did you get accepted into that scene? It seems like once you do and people realize that you're working and you're authentic, you're in.
That was it. Texans have a really great bullshit radar. Like if you come in and you try to be Texas or you try to pander or you try to do, they see through that bullshit and they don't support it. But if you come in there, guns blazing, just honest who you are, authentic, at the end of the day, if you write good songs, you can make it in Texas. And people fuck. They're very nationalistic. They're very like, I'm from Texas, fuck you. But they're also,
And they even have a song that says that.
yeah,
So
they're also one of the best music crowds in the country because if you deliver the goods,
original music,
they accept it. They'll let you have a pass. They'll rib you a little bit and be like, well, you ain't from Texas, so you ain't perfect, but you write pretty good songs. Other than the fact that you're from North Carolina, you're okay. Shit like that, but I'll take that all day because that is one of our biggest fan bases in the country. Texas and Oklahoma support this band just as much as any place in the South, just as much as my home state does.
Yeah.
And it's because
I'm jealous of all of them.
It's because we came in and didn't try to be something we weren't. We didn't come in trying to be a Texas band.
Was there a band that you were out with that kind of...
Jason Boland was the first band that took us on the road.
Okay. Jason
Boland took us on the road and introduced us to his booking agent. His booking agent started working with us, and to this day is still my booking agent.
Okay.
I've had the same booking agent for over 12 years now. A guy named John Folk at William Morris. John Folk had a band that was opening for Boland called the Turnpike Troubadours.
I was thinking there was a connection there.
And he said, hey, instead of going out with Boland this next month, I want you to go out with this young band. Turnpike.
A little more rowdy, or a little more your...
A little younger, a little more like our generation, our speed. I think Jason was the generation before me. But so we went out with Turnpike and we opened up for them in Texas and Oklahoma, and they opened up for us on the East Coast.
Okay.
We traded like markets. And then it got to the point where Turnpike got so big, like we didn't headline any shows. Like we just opened for Turnpike everywhere we went. And then, then we started going out with like Randy Rogers and Cody Canada and Wade Bowen. And started doing these tours with like luminaries in the Texas genre. And then we became really good friends with Robert O'Keefe, Pat Green, Jack Ingram, that whole crew, that generation before Randy, and before Boland. So we became kind of like we're like the rednecks from North Carolina that got invited to the family reunion. Like
y'all bring the Duke's mayonnaise.
Yeah, they still accept us. Like we bring the deviled eggs with Duke's mayonnaise.
Right.
They know very clearly that we're not that, but they also appreciate that we're not trying to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Because every show I start off, we are American Aquarium from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I get cheers for it in Texas and Oklahoma. I don't know many bands outside the state that are getting cheers for where they're from if it ain't ending in the word Texas. So we're very, very lucky to be in that scene. We love it. We're not we tell everyone we're not a Texas band, we're not a red dirt band, we're a North Carolina band, but we get to go to Oklahoma, Texas, and play some pretty big shows because
you got some coming up after the first, right?
Yeah.
That's what the Hangover?
The big Hangover Ball.
Yeah.
It's like me and Evan Felker and Cody Canada, Robert O'Keefe.
It's a few good people there.
Yeah, they're okay.
Yeah.
Don't tell them I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Well, all right. Well, I got to get to the most important question, BJ.
Yeah.
This started out as a joke on episode 1. Now it's a requirement.
Okay.
All right. So, BJ, what is your favorite Little Debbie snack?
Oh man, give me that Swiss roll all day long.
Okay. All right.
Give me a Swiss roll.
You're in Adam Hood's camp there.
Yeah, man, I love a Swiss. The Nutty Buddies would be number 2 for me.
Okay.
I think Oliver Anthony ruined the fudge round for everybody. Made all of us feel guilty for eating those things. They're delicious.
I pay for them myself though.
Yeah. That's good. I love a good fudge round. Man, Little Debbie does no wrong. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Uh-oh.
And this goes out to my brother, Bubba, if you're listening, this is for us. Little Debbie used to make a snack cake in the 80s and early 90s called the coconut round.
Okay.
And I don't think
it kind of looked like a Christmas wreath sort of. No.
What
am I thinking?
These were like, these were magical.
Okay.
They were called a coconut round. You can look them up. Some people probably steal boxes of them on eBay from like 1994, but they're called coconut rounds, and they discontinued them in the 90s. Me and my brother still talk about these things. My grandma had them all. She had fudge rounds, Swiss roll. She always had Little Debbie snack cakes all around the house. But coconut rounds were the greatest. Little Debbie CEOs out there, if you're listening, this redneck is demanding that you bring back the coconut round.
We need a sponsorship and coconut round.
Oh man, God, that was. But as far as what I can go to the store right now and buy, give me a Swiss roll all day long. I'll take both of them.
Sounds good.
Hell yeah.
BJ, appreciate the time.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me on, brother. Appreciate you.